In this experiment, we are going to be demonstrating chromatography. Chromatography is simply experiments used to separate things. So for this experiment, we are going to be separating the ink from the dye in these two highlighters. So I'm using the BIC highlighter brand, and I'm going to be testing yellow and green. You can use any highlighter, marker, you can use pen, it doesn't matter. I am using highlighters because that is all I have in my house. So the things you will need for this experiment are the things you are separating. You will need tape or a paper clip. I am using tape because that's all I can find. You will need the strips of paper you're going to use. This is coffee filter. You can use newspaper, regular paper, not notebook paper. Don't use notebook paper with ink on it, but you can use like plain printer paper or paper towels, but I have found coffee filter works the best. So these are 2 strips of coffee filter, a pencil, and then your cup of water. I have also seen where you can use like nail polish remover or acetone, but you have to be careful with that because it will evaporate very quickly, which is what happened to me, hence why we are just using the water. So I have my water covered with a paper towel and rubber band, and this has been covered for about 10 minutes now, and it's recommended to do this before you start your experiment because this allows the glass to fill with the vapor of whatever you are testing it in, and it will make your chromatography happen faster because chromatography, this experiment actually is one of those that you kind of have to let it sit for a little bit and then come back and look at it. So that is all you will need. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your pencil and you are going to mark just above the bottom of your, in this case, coffee filter. And we will go back over why we are using a pencil to mark this first after this experiment is done. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take the 2 things that you were testing, in this case my highlighter, and you are going to make a substantial mark over your pencil mark. Alright, so when you're all finished, it will look something like that. Okay, now uncover your glass. Like I said, this has been sitting like that for about 10 minutes. Here comes the tricky part. So what you want to do is correctly tear off a piece of tape, and you want to place this in to where just this bottom part of your paper touches the water. You do not want the actual color itself to touch. So we are going to carefully, like so, and this is what it'll look like. So now we let it sit for a few minutes and then we come back and see what happens. Alright, so it has been about 10 minutes since we let this sit. So we are now, and you can kind of see that where we started, the ink has actually traveled up. So the reason that you use pencil to mark over first is so you can see where your starting point was to be able to see how far it traveled. So we'll pull out our green highlighter guy first. So you can see we started here and it traveled about to there, and my water line, it traveled the same distance as the water did. And you can also see where it's kind of started to separate into blue. So it was traveling at the same speed as the water. Yellow actually traveled a little bit further, and there's like a little dot of yellow right there. But it actually, compared to our green, it actually traveled a lot further away from its dot than the green did. You can measure the distance from your pencil dot to where you traveled, to where the ink traveled, and if you're doing multiples, you can actually see which one traveled the furthest. You can also do this with like Skittles, M&Ms, all kinds of things. It's actually a really fun experiment to do. So that is chromatography.